Hi, my name is Hannah, and I am a Middle East and Events Coordinator with Churches for Middle East Peace. In the early hours of October 18th, 2022, 12 Israeli soldiers barged into the home of then 16-year-old Shadi Khoury, a Palestinian Christian living outside of Jerusalem. The family tells the story of how the soldiers savagely beat him during the process of the arrest. Rania, Shadi's mother, looked on helplessly as her son was battered to the point that she believed him dead. He was subsequently blindfolded and hauled off to be interrogated. What sort of crime warrants this kind of punishment enacted upon a 16-year-old? Shadi was accused of allegedly lynching or hitting the car of an Israeli settler with his hand. Shadi spent the next 5 agonizing weeks in Israeli military prison, being interrogated and beaten for minor infractions such as singing. He was denied access to legal representation and visits from his terrified family. Can you imagine the terror, the loneliness, the pain of this youth as he spent day after day unjustly imprisoned? This time culminated in a trial that was held almost entirely in Hebrew without Arabic translation. During this whole time, Shadi maintained his innocence. Shadi was eventually released from prison and put on house arrest. Shadi remained on house arrest, having to fight for his right to even return to school, which he was eventually allowed to do. The Israeli government produced 2 witnesses, who are in fact minors as well, that corroborated the prosecution's story that Shadi had drummed on a car. Since then, there has been evidence that their testimonies were the result of pressure and intimidation by the Israeli interrogators who spoke to the minors. It is important to note, of the several boys arrested at the same time, Shadi was the only one who was Christian. All the other boys were Muslim. In fact, later, these 2 boys testified that they didn't even remember Shadi. They don't even know who he is. 2 years later, despite a lack of any evidence, his case remains ongoing. Shadi was set to have a trial today, September 9th, 2024. Shadi graduated from high school in June from the Ramallah Friends School. The principal of the school did everything she could to make it possible for him to graduate, sending home assignments, books, and other support during his months under house arrest. Since then, Shadi has been accepted to a university in the United States. But still, this case casts a shadow over Shadi's life and his future. While our staff was praying yesterday on Sunday morning and texting with Shadi's mother in preparation for his September 9th hearing, we received the news that his September 9th hearing was in fact postponed until November 10th. This story is not unique to Shadi, but is shared by hundreds of Palestinian boys and girls who have been and are still being held on baseless and unsubstantiated charges. According to Defense for Children International Palestine, there are currently 226 Palestinian children between the ages of 12 and 17 being held in Israeli military detention centers. Would you join us in prayer that these children and Shadi would be free from the ongoing abuse and fear of being held on trumped-up, baseless charges? Would you allow Shadi's story to compel you to action? Bring awareness and attention to Shadi's case. Contact your elected officials to tell them to ask Secretary Blinken to put pressure on the Israelis to drop the case. Share Shadi's story by writing op-eds, telling his story on social media, writing to your senators and representatives. As St. Francis of Assisi prayed, let us also pray, Lord, let me be an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Let us pray and work diligently toward justice, peace, and the right of self-determination for all people in the Holy Land.